across a few images that I just knew would allow me to, get this, predict my future, understand myself better, and ultimately improve my life. Here's the first one, the perfect adjective to describe every star sign. Another one read, your zodiac signs as Disney princesses. And finally, the one image that I just knew would allow me to obtain the sense of self I had always dreamt of, the star signs as types of bread. It said Gemini was garlic bread, and I'm a Gemini, and garlic bread is amazing. So basically, that means that I'm amazing. While we're here, I'll give you all a second to look at these and tell the person sitting next to you just how right or wrong I was. Okay, so some of what I said earlier wasn't true, but that doesn't mean the garlic bread isn't amazing. Anyway, horoscopes aren't my forte, and neither are many of the other myths that people somehow manage to believe. Now, if you can show me lab-tested, evidence-based scientific fact that says that horoscopes are right, ghosts are real, and you can read my mind, I'll be the first to be excited right along with you. As for now, I'm not so convinced, but rather concerned at the power that these myths present. So today, let's use bread as a base as we lay out an understanding of why people believe in ghosts. Then we'll slather on some butter and some garlic, by which I mean getting to the good stuff, why we believe in horoscopes. Next, we'll place our garlic bread in the oven as we discover the disadvantages of believing in online diagnosis. And finally, we'll take a bite of garlicky goodness as we explore how sweet it is to abandon these myths. Some people think ghosts are scary, but have you heard of vampires? A life without garlic sounds like a pretty crummy existence to me. While I'm not going to comment on the existence of vampires, ghosts still haven't been proven to be real. Take it from Carrie Poppy. She's the host of the podcast Oh No, Ross and Carrie. A couple years ago, Carrie started to experience some strange sensations around the house. She heard whispering and whooshing noises, felt a strange pressure on her chest, and couldn't quite shake the feeling that she was being watched. Carrie was convinced that she was living in a haunted house. Not sure what to do, she tried consulting friends, seeing a psychiatrist, and even burning sage, but all without success. One night, while doing a late-night Google search on her predicament, Carrie came across an online forum for ghost investigators, who were unique in that they didn't actually believe in ghosts. She presented them with her symptoms, and they told her to look into carbon monoxide poisoning. To make a long story short, they were right. And this one event has gone on to shape Carrie's life. She is now a paranormal investigator, looking into other people's claims of ghosts and paranormal activities. And to give you a bit of insight into Carrie's personality, here's a tidbit from her own TED Talk at TEDxYouth. She says, I would love to tell you that 9 times out of 10, science wins, it saves the day, it's all explained. That's not true. The truth is 10 times out of 10. Science wins, it saves the day. Essentially, the most important lesson that we can take away from Carrie's story is this. If something you observe seems to defy science and logic, don't settle for the explanation you have. Seek out a more scientific one, because I can assure you it'll be out there. According to a 2016 study from the U.S. National Science Board, 60% of Americans think that astrology is not all scientific, which means that by the power of subtraction, 40% of Americans think that astrology is at least partially scientific. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any garlic bread-related statistics to measure this up against, because apparently all scientists have better things to do and actual problems to research. Regardless, there are a number of explanations for why people believe in horoscopes, the first of which is the psychological concept of reinforcement. When we see a horoscope that fits, we remember it, and same goes for every consecutive horoscope that fits, reinforcing the notion that horoscopes are a method of predicting the future. And this effect is only strengthened by the characteristic vagueness of horoscopes. Just because I can relate doesn't mean you all can't. Another important factor to consider is that horoscopes allow us to take the responsibility off of ourselves and place it on something external. So my horoscope said I would have a terrible day, and I didn't do so well on my math test. But it wasn't my fault. Never mind the fact that I was up all night watching the Food Network and didn't exactly get to study. And don't forget, if you've ever tried to search for your horoscope online, you may have noticed that a lot of the website names end in .com, meaning commercial. These companies are trying to sell you something, whether it be $4 a minute for a medium to help you communicate with your dead goldfish, or $7 a minute for a master psychic to tell you which carb you are. These companies don't have your best interests in mind. Okay, so maybe you don't believe in ghosts and horoscopes, but upon typing in the words runny nose, achy legs, chills, and fatigue into Google, may become utterly convinced that you are about to die of some terrible combination of Ebola and a heart attack, when in reality you're just dealing with a bout of the flu. As to why we do this, the answer lies in our dependence on technology. If I wanted to know the price of garlic bread from my favorite restaurant, which as a reasonable human being I already know to be $3.95, I would turn to Google. So it's only natural that I would do the same with my symptoms. Typing your symptoms into an online search engine seems quick, easy, and painless. But painless isn't the right word to describe what can happen when you misdiagnose yourself, which a 2015 study from the Harvard Medical School tells us happens 66% of the time with online diagnoses. You might think you have some terrible illness and end up in an unwarranted sickness-induced spiral of anxiety. Alternatively, you might think you're fine and brush off your symptoms, only to later find out that your affliction is serious. We make up claims of magic and mind reading to fill in the gaps that we don't have a better explanation for. While believing in ghosts and horoscopes is illogical, the consequences aren't exactly dire. However, when we examine beliefs like these through the lens of mental health, we can see that something more serious might be at work. For people with schizophrenia, it's not uncommon to experience delusions that seem illogical, but can hardly be distinguished from reality for those suffering from it, like the belief that one has the ability to read minds. If someone approaches you and tells you they seriously believe that they can read minds, and you sit down with them and have an equally serious conversation, you end up with one of two positive outcomes. The first being that you end up having a meaningful conversation on mental health, and hopefully the person gets the treatment they deserve. The second being that you find out you have a real-life mind-reading friend, which might actually be kind of cool. So what I'm saying is this: respect someone enough to have that conversation with them. And this doesn't just go for mental health, it goes for all kinds of beliefs. My beliefs are my beliefs because I believe them. Shocking, I know, but hear me out. If the opinion that you hold is more logical than the one that I hold, and you present it to me in the form of a valid argument, then I should admit a defeat of sorts. It's not really a defeat, because in the end, I learned something, I grew, and I became a better person. The final point I'd like to make is this. Sometimes we get so caught up in these ideas of destiny and sending positive energy and everything that we forget how much power we have to make change. Your story isn't set in stone. It's not set in that ghost supposedly haunting you, or the horoscope that told you that your star sign matched up with wheat bread, or the supposed hemorrhoid diagnosis. Thanks, WebMD. Or anything else. So don't be the person who's afraid to go against the grain. This might sound a little cheesy, but trust me. While there's no problem with believing in garlic bread, check your other beliefs, because they might just have gone stale. Thank you.